Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. You know our guest today from classic shows like Happy Days, Matlock, The Office, you name a show, she's been in it. Linda Purl has had an incredible career spanning critically acclaimed TV and film. She also has a passion for live music and is taking her talents to the stage. Look at this.
A strange kind of chemical refreshing for me. I know that mysterious glow means you'll appear, and darling, something happens to me.
That's right. She's had an amazing career and she's not done yet. Audience, give it up for Linda Purl. I'm a hugger. Welcome. Wow. Can I start with a compliment? You smell really nice.
Well, that's a relief. Okay.
You smell beautiful.
Thank you, darling. You do too.
Thank you. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm thrilled that you're here. Where did your love of music, I always say this when I ask people's origin of their love. My love of this came from Johnny and came from Merv Griffin. Where did your love of music come from?
Well, I grew up in Japan. My folks were in business over there. And at that time, which was a long time ago, there wasn't really television and stuff, but there was, so the way that they stayed in touch with America was through music. And our turntable was very, very active, and it had all the great Broadway musicals and a lot of the jazz singers of the time. So it was Tony Bennett and Rosemary Clooney and Anita O'Day and the Japanese people. Well, it's a culture-centric society, and there was a tremendous curiosity about all things American, and particularly jazz. And so Helen Merrill lived there for a long time. Anita O'Day came in. A lot of these people came out, and they would perform in clubs. So a lot of them came to the house because there wasn't that much to do.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of in the atmosphere.
In and around.
Yeah. And how can you listen to those people and not fall in love with them?
And isn't it fascinating, whether it's a television show or music, pop culture is like an entry point for other cultures to learn about our culture.
Absolutely.
You hear that all the time. People learn English via friends.
Yeah.
And you know, my radio co-host Alexis lived in Okinawa.
Oh, wow.
They watched MASH, you know, and it was like,
Sure.
so it's in music, the same thing. Is there a period of music that you are particularly fond of?
Well, I would say probably from the 30s through maybe the late 50s. Part of it because I'm primarily an actress, but I do love to sing. And the thing with the Great American Songbook is that they're stories. They're like one-act plays. So it's very akin to, I can't sing a pop song to save my life, but you know, the sort of the great writers, the Harold Arlens and the Berlins and all those people. And
you've been all around, correct me if I'm wrong, the show, all around the world with the show, or at least all around the country. What is it like trying to curate this show, picking, I mean, there are so many to choose from. How do you do that? Oh, that's a great question. It's a fun process. I get together with my music director, Ted Firth, who'll be performing here Saturday night in Minneapolis, and a really smarty pants girlfriend who basically carries the American Songbook in her brain. And so I will You always need one of those. You do. Yeah. You always, it pays to have those kinds of friends. And so I'll have a theme of something that I want to, not that the audience would even ultimately know what the theme is, but sort of a focal point of a kind of journey that we want to take. And we sit down with about 100 songs between us, and we just start to play. And we toss one out, but then that makes us think of another one. And very eventually you come down to a list of about 20 songs that then gets boiled down to 15, and that's the show. And so, and there needs to be variety in it in terms of, a torch song always in there somewhere, something sort of, uplifting, a few of those, and a couple of surprises. And We have on this topic, we have a mutual friend, the great Billy Stritch.
Oh,
and,
gosh.
And Billy was here performing, and Billy was sitting on, and we went out to dinner, and I said, what is it like? Because I watch audiences at his shows, whether it's the touring or at Birdland. I watch, and it's a cross section, and it's a lot of youngins. And I said, what is that like for you to introduce the magic of live music to an audience? And he said, there's nothing better. So I pose that to you. I imagine when you look out and you see multi-generational audiences, it's a gift.
Oh, it is. It's so much, and also in different countries.
Yeah.
Too. That's fun. And cabaret is, I mean, it's not like doing film, obviously, or even theater, because you speak directly, you sing directly to the audience. And so they're part of the experience, you know, how you react brings things alive or sends you in a different direction or inspires you. So it's a very communal experience.
Not that you didn't, and we'll talk about acting coming up. Did you miss music when there was primarily focused on acting? Did you miss it in the back of your mind?
Hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely. Once I moved to Los Angeles, you know, there just wasn't the opportunity for that. And I grew up doing musicals, and I had a recording contract for a few years in Japan, and suddenly there was no music in my life. And I really, really did. I missed it enormously. During the AIDS epidemic in the 70s, there were lots of fundraisers. And so I got pulled into those. And for about 13 years, I got to be a part of doing those, and everybody would do 2 or 3 songs. We'd get up, you know, you wear a fancy dress, and people paid too much money, and all of that would go to support people with AIDS. And so it was
a way to do music at the same time.
It was.
Hold that thought. When we come back, more about Linda's amazing career. And you name a show, she's been in it. We'll talk about that when we come back. Back in a moment, everybody. Thank you for being here. Linda Purl is our special guest. Follow Linda on social. Find out where she's performing. Go see her. If you're watching us locally, not our stations around the country, but she'll be performing this weekend. I'll give you information about that at the great club, Crooners. Let's talk about your TV career, because our audience coordinator, Aaron Schwab, who is the Bette Midler of the Twin Cities, who performs at Crooners as well.
Wow. Okay.
In the break, Aaron Googled you, and I was laughing. I'm like, what is Aaron doing over there? And she's literally going like this with your IMDb. Okay, I love that show. Okay, I love that show. Oh, I love that show she was in. Okay, I love that show she was in. Yeah. So I'm going to go through a few, and you just tell me what rises to the surface, because I would imagine you have some of the best damn stories. Because what a sweet spot of television you were involved. We were talking with the audience about that. When you think of your time on Happy Days, whether it's working with the great Gary Marshall, Ron Howard, Henry Winkler, what percolates? Oh gosh.
Well, I just got to do a play in Los Angeles that was directed by Anson Williams. And his wife wrote the play. And the first few days of rehearsal, I don't think we got anything done, because we just sat there reminiscing. But could we have possibly, get puddly thinking, we possibly imagine when we met 51 years ago, that all these years later we would be working together. And opening night, Donnie Most was there, and
Anson was Potsy, everybody, if you don't know. Yeah.
And several of the direct and the writers came to, and we talk about Gary Marshall. I mean, he was an extraordinary man. We didn't know it at the time, but he gave us such life lessons in his composure and how he ran that set. It was really a family, and it's a testament to Gary that these friendships exist all these decades later.
And you have the distinction, our executive producer asked you in the commercial, Linda was on Happy Days twice, 2 different characters, right? Yeah. You were both Richie Cunningham's girlfriend and the Fonz's girlfriend. I think that's a record. Linda, I think that's history right there.
Yeah. Well, so the show was originally supposed to be Ron's show, and then the character of Fonzie really took off, and Ron thought, maybe he would try his hand at directing. I wonder if that ever worked out for him. And so he left the show, which meant that all the ancillary characters, one of which was myself, I played his girlfriend, we were out of a job. They had no need for him. And fade out, fade in. Then years later, there was a casting notice that came out. They were looking for Fonzie's fiance, and they wanted a Linda Purl type. So we, kid you not,
That's
I should have
you!
framed it, yeah. So we called and said, well, can I audition for this? Do you mind? And they said, well, all right, if you must. So I auditioned along with hundreds of others, and Gary, bless his heart, said, okay, you can come back as a different character. So I got to
Ashley.
really go home again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk before we have to break. Jeff, am I good? I want to, yeah. Let's talk Matlock. Because TV is so cyclical. Is it weird that, oh, there you are, the publicity photo with the great Andy Griffith. What percolates there, Linda? What do you think of?
The shoulder pads. What were we thinking? We could either,
You look great, though, Linda.
Thank
Look
you.
at that.
Thank you. Well, I thought, it's so I was dating my father's son. I mean, it all gets very incestuous because it was, and I asked Ron what it was like to work with Andy. Of course, he had wonderful things to say. Andy was a very fascinating person. He was brilliantly talented, as we know. I didn't imagine that he would be a white-hot intellect. He was. And
I was going to ask you what surprised you the most about him.
Yeah, I think that was it. He was a very serious person. He had layers and layers of depth to him. I would say, like many comics, he could have a sort of a dark side also. He'd be the first to say so. And I think my only sorrow with Andy is that we didn't see his King Lear. We didn't see his Willy Loman. We did see one aspect of what he had to deliver as an actor, but he had so many other facets, and we didn't get to see that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's a great place to break on, because I can't top that. More with Linda Purl when we return. Back in a moment. That is extraordinary. You're right. He never really left that type of... Back with the great Linda Purl. Don't forget dates, showtimes, everything. Follow Linda on social. If you're watching us locally, Crooners this weekend, get tickets. More information a little bit later. Okay, Linda, I was a professional. I waited until the last segment to nerd out on you.
I'm scared.
I've interviewed you via Zoom a few times, and I think I scared you one time. I know that you love Patrick. I think I love Patrick as much as you do. The audience knows there is no bigger Dallas. I don't care what anybody says. All of you out there that think you are, there's no bigger Dallas fan than I am.
Right.
I'm not joking. I have a framed, I showed you this in a Zoom interview one time, and the look on your face was like, oh my God. I have a publicity still that I got from Warner Brothers of Patrick in the shower.
Oh, okay.
From the It's All Been a Street, and I had that in my bathroom.
Okay.
I had that in my bathroom, and so every day when I would shower, I would look at Patrick.
Right.
And
Yeah. I've had that experience too.
Touche, Linda!
Okay. Just saying.
If people don't know, I don't want to run out of time. I want to shut my mouth. If people don't know, your love story, it's been covered by people. Oh. There's probably like 12 people that don't know, but it's such an extraordinary story. Can you give us the TV version of it, my friend?
Acquaintances for 45 years because we just sort of passed in the halls. And then a little before COVID, we bumped into each other, and he had lost touch with Richard Thomas. They'd done a play together. I was living in New York near Richard, so Patrick gave me his cell phone, I think innocently, just to say, put me in touch with Richard. So then the three of us were in sort of text, Happy Christmas, Happy Easter, or whatever. And then COVID hit. And we started, Patrick and I and Richard, we started doing sort of Zooms together, and then Richard kind of fell out, and Patrick and I continued. We Zoomed every night because there was nothing else to do, God knows, for 2 to 3 hours for a couple of months. And then at some point it was, oh, this might be something more than a swell friendship. And he jumped in his Prius and he drove from his house in Oregon to mine in Colorado, and that was that. I mean, go figure. But, it couldn't have happened outside of COVID. We never would have had that found that time.
The opportunity, for it to grow.
To get to know each other,
Yeah.
really. It would have been, well, if you're ever in LA, we'll have a drink, maybe in 5 years. But so as horrible as COVID was, and and for so many people, I mean, there is sort of this sense of guilt that it was a real blessing for us. And believe me, there's no one more surprised than the two of us that we are where we are.
My last question, and this is the only, if that was just, you have to admit, I didn't completely nerd out with that question, but my last question, I will nerd out a little bit.
Okay.
Larry Hagman,
Yeah.
what was it like? You and Patrick, you were not together before Larry passed.
Correct.
But when Patrick talks about his friendship with, thank you, your
Yeah.
face says it all. That is such an extraordinary, I could cry. I mean, I saw Larry at the junket for Dallas a couple months before he died for the reboot.
Yeah.
What an extraordinary, not entertainment industry friendship, but what an extraordinary friendship. What does Patrick say about Larry? What I mean, the bond.
They were brothers from the moment they met. And whatever, a few months later, Patrick got into Larry's car and pulled the visor down and saw a photograph there of Larry standing and his wife, Mai, standing in front of a brick wall. And Patrick said, "That's Boulder, Montana." And he said, "What do you mean, a town of 500 people?" It's where Patrick's parents lived. And Larry said, "How do you know?" Well, there was a hot springs near there. Larry and Mai had been going there for years and would go to the bar. And they'd been bridge partners with Patrick's parents for years. And so Larry turned to Patrick and said, are you Babe and Terry Duffy's son? And he said, "Yes, that's my parents. That's their brick wall outside their bar." I mean, I get chills even telling it, right? So there was something in the cosmos that brought them together.
Oh, that's not on accident.
Yeah.
And they were friends until the day we lost Larry.
Yeah, Patrick was in the room when Larry passed, and so it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. I mean, trouble, so much trouble. But yeah.
He was naughty. He could be, he wasn't JR, but he had a streak.
Oh gosh, they were just mischievous little boys that loved each other to the end.
I love it. Well, it means a lot to me that you're here.
Oh,
it really, really does.
Thank you, Jason.
And I love a guest that comes to play, and you did, and I appreciate your stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Linda Purl, everybody. Follow Linda right there, CoonersInman.com if you're watching this local. For dates across the country, you can find them on Linda's socials. We'll be right back, everybody. Back in a moment. Thank you so much. What a pleasure. I'll walk you out here.